My name's Ken Tuminello. I'm president of Southern Packaging. My primary responsibilities with the company involve procurement of timber and overseeing the expansion and development and construction along with a lot of the daily operations of the plant itself. I obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in forestry in 1975 from Louisiana State University, and then went on in 1978 and earned a Master of Science degree in Wildlife Management, again from Louisiana State University. Heat treatment, the actual treatment process started in 2002, and we had done about a year of research into the requirements and the equipment and the different aspects of complying with the requirements of the phytosanitary treaty. And it was, I'd say we had about a 4-month construction process, and then we came online in December of 2002. We, as a pallet manufacturer and as I guess an industrial type operation, we've kind of prided ourselves over the years we're sometimes a little dusty and dirty, but we're not what we consider hazardous or toxic. And for some reason, the idea of bringing chemicals into the production process wasn't real appealing to us, and we, for that reason, pretty quickly decided that changing that basic fact was something we were going to shy away from. So we looked at the other alternatives, which seemed to either be dry heat or steam as a means of heating, obtaining the temperatures necessary to comply with the regulations. We use live steam. We have a boiler system that produces the steam. It's introduced into a treatment unit that's very similar to a dry kiln, except that it doesn't have the ventilation and air moving characteristics. It's strictly an insulated aluminum and stainless steel box. We place the pallets in, introduce steam, hold it for the required time and temperature, record all that on a documentable recording, and that's the system that we're using, and we've been very satisfied with it. It's 30 minutes at 135 degrees Fahrenheit, and we actually set ours at 140 and hold it for the full 30. We chose to use the steam over the light dry heat because, you know, the research is probably incomplete or imperfect, but the steam, we're dealing with wet or green lumber. It was our concern that if we used dry heat, we would actually be drying the pallets, removing moisture, and therefore increasing the possibility of checking or cracking or in-splitting of the lumber. We just felt that from the information that we could obtain by talking to producers of both types of equipment and working through our trade association, that there may be some unknowns about the steam, but it seemed like drying the wood less was better, and that's the choice we made. It may prove to be the wrong choice, but so far we're satisfied with it. There's probably considerations beyond the cracking and splitting that we've learned about, such as the steam seems to maybe encourage sugars to migrate to the surface of the wood, and which can possibly stimulate the growth of mold. We've had some problems with it. I don't see a direct relationship between the steam and the mold. I think the mold is a result of nature and sunlight, moisture, time of year, temperature, and factors. Maybe the steam aggravates it, maybe it doesn't, but I think research is needed to determine that. The primary wood species that we use at Southern Packaging is green hardwood. We use no pine, no cypress. The species that we typically use will be red or white oak, sweet gum, hackberry, pecan, sweet or bitter pecan, honey locust, ash, all your typical species. The species we do not use for pallet construction are willow, cottonwood, cypress, box elder, or tupelo gum.
Tell me about the chamber that you used. Where'd you get it from, and what's the capacity and that sort of stuff?
Okay.
And we chose because of the fact that this was being done in Europe by this company.
Right. We went with a company that's based in Germany, who's had decades of experience with dry kilns, both in Europe and in the United States. It's called Brunner Hildebrand. We took information packets and proposals from probably 6 different kiln suppliers. The overlap between kiln drying and heat treatment is very, very close. The process is a little bit different. So we naturally turned to those choices of producers, and we went with the Brunner Hildebrand. They had experience in Europe with heat treatment facilities, or so we were told or believed or understood. And you know, after working with 3 or 4 different suppliers, we ended up choosing that particular company based on just the way it seemed that they knew their product. They had a competitive price. When we checked out their proposals against others, it always made sense, and it just seemed like the purchasing decision was something we were comfortable with at the time. And we still are. They've been a real good supplier. If we've needed any parts or service, they've been good. They do call and check on us. They ask how everything's doing. So we've had a good experience with this supplier. We asked them to build us a facility that would be capable of treating 2 truckloads at a time from startup, from closing the door and taking them out in less than 3 hours. And so they designed the boiler and the unit to meet that parameter, and except in the very cold of winter, we usually beat that. So, and even in winter, it's much on target. So we've been very satisfied that they delivered a product that would perform as they proposed, and we've had no problems with the equipment since it's been installed. We are inspected monthly. Our inspection service is through the National Hardwood Lumber Association, NHLA. In the first year of inspection, they came out on pretty much a schedule. They'd call us and notify us they were coming, and we had records prepared for their inspection. They, in my opinion, were very thorough about looking for every bit of our records, keeping to be in compliance with our license to use the stamp. We were always aware that our inspector was subject to inspection by a higher level, which I'm not sure the name of the service that actually does it, but our inspector was inspected. And we did have a surprise inspection, which we were full compliance with. And our inspector not only checked the records, but they physically went to the facility each time. They looked to see that we were keeping our inventory separated and that we were following the procedures, that we were obtained our authorization to apply the stamp under. So as far as I know, we've been in complete compliance. The inspection process has been, in my opinion, good. I think that compliance is only as good as the participants in the program. If a authorized party has a stamp and they wish to misuse it, I think they could probably get away with it for a while under the current format. I think that they'd get caught eventually. I would hope that it's our intention to comply strictly and to be certifiable. We're proud to do it and proud to do it right. We would hope our competitors do the same. We're grateful for the service that the inspection provides. Maybe some more spot inspections would be beneficial. But honestly, I feel that the inspection service we have now is good, meaningful, and valuable. And I think it works. The inspection now comes unannounced. We don't know when the inspector will be coming. We summarize records weekly, and whenever the inspector shows up, he wants records through the previous Friday up to date and in order, and we've always had that for him. We close out every Friday. On Monday by noon, we have the records for the past week all posted and prepared and filed, and so whenever they stop in, the records are kept current. The records that we keep they want to have a documentation in writing of each charge that we make in our heat treatment chamber. They want the date, the time, and the temperature for that entire heat charge. There's a graph paper documentation that is tied to every entry in the treatment log, that we record the date of treatment, the date the pallets were produced, the time, the customer, the board feet, and I believe that's the majority of the records that we keep. But each treatment has a separate graph paper that shows the time it's printed on it. It shows a graph of the change in the temperature within the chamber. We have 3 different probes set at different parts of the pallet. The probes are in the wood. It's not the temperature of the chamber, it's the temperature of the wood that's recorded, and that's all documented. We were, I think, aware of 2 or 3 at the time. I think there's more choices now. Being a member of NHLA, we just kind of as a comfort zone rather than any other particular reason. We were comfortable to have them do the inspection. They offered it, and price was comparable to others, maybe a little bit higher, but we were satisfied to have them. The future of the regulations, it seems to me, they were developed for a good reason. It was to prevent the transfer of insects from one country to another through wood products. It's far better than no system, and compliance and enforcement of compliance is critical to the success of the program. It does our company no good to be in full compliance and have competitors cheating or not complying. So we fully endorse and support. I think the thrust of preventing the flow of insects from one country to another is very valuable. And I think that enforcement of it will assure that that value we all gain from that process is maintained. So I'd like to see strict enforcement, and I think that the regulations serve a good purpose for our domestic plants and for the foreign people as well. Everyone benefits from this process. I think that the impact on the U.S. pallet market, there are a number of pallet users that are strictly domestic, and they shouldn't have to pay the burden of this extra treatment. If a pallet producer is capable of having a good business plan that involves just domestic production, and they feel that they can do without putting in a heat treatment facility and be successful, that's a decision that business would have to make. In my opinion, the market will move in the direction that there'll be some people that can survive in that. I think a lot of pallet producers, especially those producing pallets that are involved in international trade, will just have to make a business decision. Am I going to join the rest of the people producing and put this facility in and work towards satisfying what my customers' needs? I think that customers will dictate, producers will have to be in compliance if they want to serve them. Yeah, I think it's a decades old, maybe an industry old question as to whether or not other materials will substitute for wood in pallets. In my opinion, for the foreseeable future, wood is a renewable natural resource that is readily available in current and projected needs, and that the alternative costs are far more expensive. Alternatives will play a role, probably a slightly increasing role, for some products and some manufacturers. But in my opinion, for the foreseeable future, wood is the best choice, even if it's required to be heat treated for international trade.